win prizes and they don't get excited. Like, that's it? That's all you've got? Okay, so real quick, I'm going to be talking about Susan. That's exactly the response you need when you win a prize. So I have a question for you to start. How many of you have a friend that's a close friend that you've been friends for 5 years or more? Okay, continue. Think about that friend. How many of you have a friend you've been friends with for 10 years or more? Close friends for 10 years or more. 20 years? Oh, I love this. Look around. I mean, because after 20 years, they're not really friends anymore, right? They're family. Yeah, exactly. They're family. And so that's what I want to talk about, is the way to build those kind of relationships where they do become family. And so we're going to talk about relationships and mentoring through 3 different lenses, because every speaker needs 3 topics. It's an unwritten rule, but it's somewhere. It's probably written somewhere. Friendship and mentorship in Christ, in character, who we are, and in community. So we're going to start with in Christ. A long time ago, in another lifetime, in another place, far, far away from here, Everett, I decided, that's right, I know a lot of my people are here. Notice we're here, and not in Everett. But I decided when I had my daughter that I was going to be a stay-at-home mom while she was home. That was really important to me. And so I went from teaching, I've been teaching for about 12 years at this point, and I went from teaching to being at home with a newborn. And I don't know if you've had newborns, but they're not great conversationalists. And I got really, really bored. And so I thought, I got to get something. I've got to have something else in my life. So we went to a large church. We went to New Life Center in Everett, and they had a large MOPS group, which is mothers of preschoolers. So I thought, perfect. I can give, I mean, I've been talking, teachers talk 8 hours a day. 8 hours a day. And I wasn't talking anymore. And so I needed people to talk to. And so I went to MOPS, and it was kind of uncomfortable at first, but I got more and more involved. And after a year or 2, I can't remember, I became the coordinator of the MOPS group. So I would start every year with some motivational speech on whatever the topic of the year was. And I was thinking the night before, like I did last night, because we move stuff at the last minute. That's my personality. We'll talk about that later. And so the night before, I was trying to think, what am I going to say? How can I really communicate what MOPS does for me, and how important it is in your life? And so I started thinking about my friends. And I realized all my best friends were all in MOPS. That was my people. And so, and one of my best friends, that's still today my best friend, we laugh a lot because we knew each other for a year and a half in MOPS before we even met each other. And so it was like we didn't even realize. And look at now, we're 20 plus years later, 21 years later, and she's still my best friend. And we didn't even know each other for a year in the same room. And so it was a big MOPS group, granted. So what I did that Sunday Tuesday, is I asked the women to take a minute, look across the room, and make eye contact with someone that they didn't know. And just hold that contact. Make sure that you've acknowledged. So I'm going to ask you to do that also. So take a minute, look up from your craft. You're probably getting frustrated anyway, so just take a break. And look across the room and make eye contact with somebody that you don't know. And just hold that for a second. Waiting for someone to look at me. Okay, your responsibility is to go up and meet that person. And spend a few minutes talking to each other when I'm done. Sometime today, before you go, find out who that person is, what their name is, and something about them. Because you just never know when you're going to find your person. You know the person, right? That's the one you go in and you crash on their couch. I've talked with Tricia about this. The person you can just go to their house, crash on the couch in sweats and no makeup, go raid their fridge for something to drink without asking permission. Those are your people. And so everybody needs people. And so if you don't have a person like that, especially, it's hard, those of us that moved over, it's hard to build that. Heather, you're one of my inspirations, because you are intentional. And that's why you're best friends with literally everybody in the room already, and everybody knows who Heather is and adores you. Because you put yourself out there, you invest yourself out there with people. And so you're I've got a little bit of hero worship going on, but not idol worship, just admiration. So when we're believers in Christ, it looks a little different, right? Because we already share the most important thing. If you're a Christian, we are to share the thing that's the most important in our lives, and that's our love for the Lord. Pam Christie? Just Pam, right? I keep calling you Christy in my head now after you said that. I know. So I just met her, but I already adore her because she's a believer. She just moved here. Everybody, Pam, everybody. Yeah. I'll stop saying your last name so it doesn't mess people up. But she took a risk in coming here. She didn't know anybody. But how exciting that through this, through her intentionality of seeking relationship in Christ, now she can start building relationships here in this community. So Romans 12:5 says, in the same way, though there are many of us, we are one body in Christ. Listen to the next part. And individually, we belong to each other. I think that's so cool. Like, we belong to each other. We belong. You belong. And so I just think that's lovely. I think about, you've got millions of friends around the world that you haven't met yet, and you're already friends with them because they're believers. You just haven't met them yet. But when you do, you're going to love them. So second thing, in character, those of you that know me know I adore studying temperaments. I probably have 10 books. I brought a couple that I'll put out in the back. This is Tim LaHaye's Why You Act the Way You Do. So it's a spirit-filled temperament analysis. So it's when you have a weakness and the spirit can control it, it looks different in a Christian. And so he took a different spin. Any of the Littauer books, these are phenomenal, super funny. Like her mom's book, Florence, and this is her daughter. They're just funny authors. And so they're really easy and enjoyable to walk through. But we tend to seek out people who have a similar personality type to us, the similar characteristics to us, because we're compatible that way. But it's important to know all the temperaments. Because if you have an acquaintance or a friend that's very, very different than you, sometimes just knowing it's just their temperament makes a difference. It's nothing wrong with them or wrong with you. It's just that you have very conflicting personalities. And just being aware of that. I won't, never mind. So, in the back, we don't have time to do it today, but on that little table in the alcove, I put 2 papers. One is your ability to do a temperament analysis. We'll go through the temperaments in a second. The second one is the scoring sheet. Don't peek at the scoring sheet, because you might say, oh, I really want to be this one. And so you'll skew your answers toward that one. So just put it aside. Just score yourself honestly. And then do the scoring sheet and see where you're at. So let's talk about the 4 personalities. So the first one is choleric. A choleric personality, their motto is my way or the highway. If they had a bad body posture, it would be... They're very intense. They're very critical sometimes, but they're the only people that get stuff done. That's it. And so my dad, when my dad was alive, they went to a church in Shelton. And they had a building committee that was met for 6 years, and they haven't done anything. And finally one day, he's a choleric, he said, all right, we're done talking. I'm gonna go out and start digging for the footings. And he did, and guess what? The church was there like 4 months later. But he just got so tired of them just talking about it. That's a choleric. Weaknesses, they can be a little strong-willed, they can be headstrong, they can need to have their own way. But again, they're the activators. They're the ones that actually get their hands dirty and get it done. They went first because they have to be first. Sanguine goes second because sanguines just want a lot of attention, and they were okay that they weren't first because they didn't want to get in the fight with a choleric, but they're second. Sanguine's motto is ready, fire, aim. Processing, yeah, it's bad order. If they had a body gesture, it would be... Sanguines are ready to party hard anytime. But they can be a little chaotic. Sanguine addicts are filled with projects that were super cool and super fun. I appreciated this one because we finished it today before we went home. But then they get bored. It's just not fun after a while, and so sanguines go, that's good enough. I'll come back to it later. You're never going to come back to it. Next is melancholy, because if I put melancholy's last, melancholies would feel bad and really wonder why I left them for the last. If a melancholy had a body posture, it would be... If melancholies had a motto, it might be, let's think about that a little bit. They're the analyzers. If you have a surgeon, you want a melancholy. If you have an accountant, you want a melancholy. Melancholies don't miss anything. They are detail-focused. But they're also very self-critical. They're also very, very detail-conscious. And so they're a little hard on themselves and others around them sometimes because they're so focused on perfection. And so it can be hard. The last one is phlegmatics, because really, phlegmatics don't really care if they're last, whatever. You know, as long as you remember me some of it, they're good. A phlegmatic body posture would be, their motto is whatever. Phlegmatics are the easiest going people on earth. They are so lovable. We love our phlegmatics. Phlegmatics get nothing done. Because they don't care enough. They're okay. If you want to do it, I mean, I'll pray for you. I can do that. But if you had just phlegmatics in a group, you wouldn't finish the group. The group would never accomplish what its task was at the beginning. But they'd be okay with that. So it's really important that we have a blend of the temperaments. I wanted to read 1 Corinthians 12, but instead of the body parts, it's the one where we're all one body. We have many parts. But instead of the body parts, I want you to think in your head what you think your temperament might be. So think in your head, sanguine, choleric, melancholy, phlegmatic. So it says, 1 Corinthians 12 through 27 says, "For the body is one and has many members, but all the members of that one body, being many, are only one body. So is also Christ. For by one Spirit we were all baptized into one body. For in fact the body is not one member, but many. If the foot," choleric would never be the foot. Yeah, sanguine, that's fine. "If the foot should say, because I am not a hand, I am not of the body, is it therefore not of the body? And if the ear should say, because I'm not an eye, I'm not of the body, is it therefore not of the body? If the whole body were an eye, where would we be hearing?" Wait, we're going to come back to that idea. "If the whole were hearing, where would be the smelling? But now God has set the members, each one of them in the body, just as he pleased. God made us the way we are. Uniquely different, very different, but uniquely different. And if they were all one member, where would the body be?" So I thought, I was kind of having fun after I read that verse, and I thought, what would it look like? So I started thinking, what if the whole church were powerful clerics? Like, we would get a lot done, but nobody would be happy. Because they'd all want to know, why wasn't my idea chosen? And you can only pick one idea. What was wrong with my idea? My idea was great. So that if the whole church was powerful clerics, that's what would happen. If the whole church was laid back, peaceful phlegmatics, what would get done? Nothing. They'd have a really good time. There would be no sermon, because nobody took the initiative to actually write the sermon. If we were all popular sanguines, we'd have a lot of parties, but again, nothing would be done. Or it'll get partially done, and then we'll come back to that later. But half the wall painted is okay. It's good. It's the party. If we were all perfect melancholies, we would overanalyze things for so long that nothing actually got accomplished because we'd be second-guessing every decision we made. So if you think about your temperament, what if the whole church was your temperament? It's super humbling, because you realize it's not all about me. You're an eyeball. You know, thank goodness that we have ears. So in community, the next one is in community. In community, we had mentor moms. Lovely, lovely position. These were women who had done the job. The kids were still alive at the end, and they had raised them and sent them out, Godspeed. Some of them came back, but mostly they were pushed out. These were our mentor moms, and a lot of us were older moms, but there weren't a lot of years difference between us. They started young, I started old, but they had done the dirty work already. I was still knee deep in diapers, literally, like knee deep in diapers. They were done, they were through that stage, but they would come alongside these women, especially the younger moms, and they would mentor them. Have any of you been a mom's mentor? Has anybody in the room been, Heather? That does not surprise me. You did moms too? And so it was hard, surprisingly hard to find mentor moms, but once we found them, it was the people that were passionate about speaking into the lives of younger women. And so, but speaking into somebody's life doesn't require age, right? It depends on life experience and spiritual maturity. I've had a lot of people younger than me speak into my life because they've gone through something that I'm going through right now, and they've come out the other side of it. And so be thinking about, what has the Lord taken you through, and how might he use that experience in the future for your good? I think about, I lost a baby, I miscarried once, kind of farther into the pregnancy. And so that was a terrible experience, right? But through that experience, I was able to come alongside other moms who were going through that now. You know, once you're down past it, you can see how the Lord carried you through it. And so be thinking about those life experiences. Be open to seeing the need of a mentor in younger women. I had a high school student last year, bless her heart, like she was a doll. Choleric, super choleric, but she kept coming back to me toward the end of the year. She knew I was leaving and going to a different high school. And so she kept coming back to me. And at the end of the year, she kept asking me, what's your favorite color? Oh, what do you love? You know, what are your favorite chips? So she went to the store and bought me like the most thoughtful teacher end of year gift. High school teachers don't get end of year gifts. If you have a kid in high school, send a gift to their teacher. Like nobody gets gifts in high school. So, but she kept pursuing that relationship. She needed somebody, even as a non-Christian 17-year-old, she knew she needed someone to speak into her life. That was a level of maturity that just took my breath away. But I have to find the time to meet with her. Like, that's the hardest part. You know the rarest asset on earth? Time. And if somebody is willing to give you some of their time, that rare, precious element of time, if somebody is willing to give that to you, take it for the jewel that it is. That's a beautiful gift. I think that's the best gift you can give anybody. Because my love language isn't gifts, so that's, other people might disagree with that one. I was thinking about how Naomi spoke into Ruth's life. You know, Ruth was at the darkest point of her life. She didn't know where she was going to go. She didn't know what she was going to do. She was in totally a foreign land. But Naomi took her along. And when Ruth didn't know what to do, Naomi did, because she had the experience of life. And so Naomi was able to speak into Ruth's life and walk alongside with her through the darkest days, and the outcome was the lineage of Christ. I mean, what a great outcome. What if Ruth had said, I'm good. I don't need a mentor. I'm fine. I'll get by. And she would have gotten by. She'd gone back to, blanking right now, Moab. If she'd gone back to Moab, she would have been fine, but she wouldn't have been happy. And so, anyway, just be aware of the need to listen to the mentors in your life. Last, acknowledging it's hard work to cultivate friendships. There are some women in this room that are so precious and dear to me. But I don't have time a lot of times, and I need to make time. I know that. And I just had a friend, my dear, dear friend. She used to call me, this is my best friend, Lisa Handy. And so that's how she would introduce me when she talked about me with her family. This is my best friend, Lisa Handy, is coming to town. And that's precious to me. But she came to visit. We haven't talked for like a year. That's embarrassing. We haven't even talked for a year, just because our lives are so busy. She came, the first thing she did? Yes. She flopped out on my couch and got herself something to drink. And I'm like, that's it. She's never been to this house that I live in. But we went right back to it. And so that's precious. I can start crying, of course. So I was thinking about Paul's statement, what I want to do, I don't do, and what I don't want to do, that I do. And that's kind of the way it is with friendships. I want to be close with all of my friends. I want precious, precious memories, and I want to take trips together. And then life. And so, but I want to make time for that. So there was a quote I found. It said, to be fully seen by somebody, then to be loved anyhow, that is the most amazing miracle of all. And I just think that's precious. I've got a lot of regrets in my life, a lot of regrets for how I spend my time. But you know what I don't regret? A single minute that I've spent with my friends. Not a single minute. So find that time, ladies. Find that time. And I'm preaching to myself right now too. Find food. So let's go party. Who wants to go party with me after this? You'll never guess what temperament I am. It's a tough one. But do grab those inventories on the way out. And be a blessing to somebody, and let somebody bless you. What? Oh, I thought somebody talked. Okay, I'm going to stop talking now. Okay. I could go on for like 6 hours. I'm good at this. I do it every day. Yeah, exactly. All right. Thanks.